Medicare money goes into, and the answer to that is yes.
A separate fund.
Separate, they go into separate funds, and right now, the actuaries, these are the people that start, they tell us there's a $2.8 trillion surplus in the Social Security Fund, and as Mr. Robinson was pointing out, if we do nothing, that's enough money to cover well, first of all, it's enough money to cover full benefits for 30 years. And then after that, they would have to be reduced if we did nothing. And they tell us the Medicare fund is like 10 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. So to the extent that either one of them or both of them need fixing, we have time to do that. And there are ways to do that, like scrapping the cap.
And just so the on the Medicare portion of your payroll tax, of your wages, the cap on the Medicare part was scrapped quite a while ago.
Right.
And that idea about to get extra money by putting the tax on unearned benefits, that was done on the Medicare payroll for Medicare in the Affordable Care Act. So it shows that there's a precedent. So that will increase the money coming into the Medicare trust fund because they're going to start collecting on unearned benefits.
But the $700 billion that was borrowed will be paid back as well? Or
Well,
does this 3.8% supposedly recover that $700 billion?
I don't think it's recoverable.
That's the way that I understand it.
That's the way I understand it.
So the monies that were invested were taken out for general purposes related to medical, but not directly to Medicare.
That may very well be exactly what
Okay,
happened. Yeah, they're telling us that that $700 billion was actually savings for the fund. And I've got some waterfront property I want to say.
You got the right question. That's all I need to know.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. A piece of legislation was passed labeled HR 1314, Radical Reform on Social Security. How did that affect us? It was passed by
I'm
the House.
not aware of the fact that it was passed, not in the last 3 years since I've
It
been
said it
here.
was passed by the House of Representatives and the Senate, and it goes into effect May 1st, 2016.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
file and suspend,
Not the house?
the file and suspend the spouses.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, doesn't that involve the spouse and, explain that. And that, by the way, that was not considered in committee, it was not considered under open amendment. It was placed in a continuing resolution, the day before the last Congress.
May 16th.
Before the vote.
Yeah, but that was never, but it was just put in a bigger bill at the end of the session without hearings and without consideration. But go ahead,
Yeah, and if need be, the Social Security rep was here to maybe provide, more detail. But it affects a limited number, a fairly limited number of people where, in relation to the husband and wife having, different Social Security benefits coming to them, and the notion of having to start collecting at age 70, but having this option to file and suspend, so that for the purpose of your spouse being able to get a higher benefit than otherwise. So that's what it affects, only people in that particular category. And that's what was done, as Carpenter said, kind of without open discussion, snuck in at the late last session. And so that's what it affects, but it doesn't affect everybody. It's a fairly narrow number of people.
and
that it
probably
affects.
nobody in this room, is that correct? Unless they already took advantage of the older system or.
Could well be.
Well, anybody in this room
I can explain.
that's eligible for it, I would have the opportunity to do so
You
between
still
now
have
and
until
May
April
1.
1st or May 1st.
Yeah.
May 1st, yeah.
Yeah. But it is a relatively small group and that's affected by it. And at the time, apparently, it was considered as a unintended loophole that enabled some people to game the system and get more than they otherwise would have.
So then that 11.4 million, their savings goes back into the Social Security.
That's correct.
To be paid out over a period of time for everybody else.
Yep.
Divided up.
Yep, thank you for raising that. That's good.
Congressman, we've got one back here, you've been waiting for.
Okay, what, this one here and then this one, yep.
I have a question about the Social Security worksheet. Why is it necessary for retired people to fill out the Social Security worksheet and have to declare taxes on their, part of their Social Security? I understand the wages above it, I do my own taxes, but why is that necessary?
You know, I'm not
Social Security is
sure,
supposed
can
to
you
be
address that?
You're just talking about paying taxes on your social security?
Yeah,
Is that the one on the back of your?
It's just taxable income.
no.
Is that what he's asking? Is that what
It
you're
may be a
asking?
little out of context, but I never had a chance to talk to you, and I'd like
Yeah.
to get your opinion on that.
Well, I don't think it should be taxed, you've already paid taxes on
Yeah,
it.
but you fill out, because I have a private pension, my wife has a small private pension, we're just, you know, small pensions, they never go up. Now, the amount of money that we don't have to put down for Social Security, we have to add back in because of the Social Security worksheet, and I have to pay taxes on that.
Yeah.
And that costs me about $1,400 a year in federal tax.
Yeah, and it should.
It doesn't even go to help Social Security, it's just the federal tax. And Clinton and Gore passed that in 1993.
Yep.
And it's, you know, we've had it now for 23 years, and I've fought it, and I've never got anywhere with it. Nobody gives me a direct answer. It isn't fair.
Well, I agree with you, it's not fair, and something should be done about it.
And besides, there's a $18,000 marriage penalty on the Social Security worksheet. You get a $25,000 deduction if you're single. Any other form, it's always double. If you're married, it's only $32,000. You probably know what I mean. So it's an $18,000 marriage penalty besides.
Yeah. And that's not fair either.
Well, why doesn't somebody do something about it?
Well, part of the problem is, and I wanted to pay a bit of a compliment to the new speaker, Ryan. He says he's gonna bring the Congress back to regular order, meaning things have to come up through the committee. And quite frankly, he's already done that on a number of things. We were able to pass, in the month that he's been speaker, we were able to pass an education reform bill, a long-term transportation bill, a budget bill, a continuing resolution. We did more in the month that Speaker Ryan has been speaker than the rest of the Congress for the last, 4 or 5 years. It didn't happen under Brainerd. So, is it always gonna happen under Ryan? No. As Mick Jagger in the Rolling Stones said, you can't always get what you want. But he's doing a lot better than what it was. So I'm grateful to him for that. So Boehner was rather imperial, you know, he'd kind of come walking by with 5 guys with guns surrounding him, say, oh, you know, Ryan's more apt to come up and say, Charlie, you served your country well, served your country honorably. Could I count on you to really help? And that's the difference, and I like that. I like that. He talks to you. So most recently, he did that on the transportation bill. Because we said, you know, we've kicked this can down the road 34 times. And a group of us said, we're not gonna do it anymore. Counties, cities can't plan their transportation plan. Contractors can't, they have no idea what's gonna be happening, you know, this summer, let alone next year. So we said, we're done kicking this can down the road. And Ryan came over to me and a couple others, said, guys, if you go along with me just one more time, you know, I promise you, I'll do everything in my power to let the committee write a transportation bill. And we said, okay, but this is it, Charlie, or this is it, Paul, this is the last time. Well, he honored that. And guess what? We came together in a nonpartisan, Democrats, Republicans. We wrote a good transportation bill. It's a 5-year bill, and it was welcomed by everybody on both sides of the aisle. So I'm hopeful that, you know, things are gonna get better. We're gonna get back to real democracy again. Because real democracy is a lot of hard work. I was in the committee on a rewrite of the the FAA authorization. And you'll be, you'll be glad, but you know, we started at 10 o'clock in the morning, we were still going at 8 o'clock at night. One of the last amendments was one of mine, okay? So, my wife's grandfather donated the land for the airport out here. And so I said if I wasn't supporting airports, by heck, I couldn't even go to a family reunion. Zibazar had a nice little full building right alongside the terminal there. And he passed away. And so there's a group of business people here in town that wanted to build a new $1 million hangar right next to the brand new terminal, which would be a great addition to the airport, okay? And under the terms of the way the airport operates, they spend the $1 million, they get the use of the hangar for their lifetime, but it belongs to the airport, the public. So it's a nice contribution to the airport, the kind of thing you want to welcome. Well, guess what? The FAA has a rule that you have to do they have to do a feasibility study under what they call a reimbursable contract agreement, where the folks that are building the $1 million facility have to pay for it. And oh, by the way, that can cost $100,000 to $200,000. Really?
Sound like the PCA.
And then they have to do the construction work, and that could cost $300,000 or $400,000. So now we got $1 million, $500,000 in extra expenses, you know, to build $1 million hangar. And I talked with the State Department of Transportation. Well, you know, I told the committee, you'll look at it if you see my Monday report. I said, we all know two guys with a backhoe and a pickup truck that can move the dang thing. You know, but the FAA's not going to go along with that deal. So if a State Department of Aviation has the engineering capability to do this and comply these couple little towers that have to be moved so we can build the tower, or so we can build the hangar, that they ought to be allowed to do that. And I was told that the committee was opposed to it, the Democrats were opposed to it, the Republicans are all opposed to it. You'll never get this bill through. My own staff told me don't even bother introducing it. And I said, no, I didn't come here to be a shrinking violet. And I introduced my amendment, and I explained it like I just did to you. And so the chairman of the committee says, is there anybody opposed to it? He said, I'm going to reserve time because I'm opposed to it. And the staff handed him a memo. He said, oh, wait a minute, I guess I'm not opposed to it. We're going to save a lot of money. We're going to get some private investment in an airport. And this is going to apply throughout the country. And I got through my little amendment. Now, that's because I wasn't across the street dialing for dollars.
Don't you have another Social Security question back here? 'Cause
Yes, I
have
do. I'm
one,
sorry.
but I can't ask it till everybody's finished.
Back here. Yep, thanks, Mary.
I'll stand up. Hopefully you can hear me better. About 30 years ago, the country of Chile had a social security-based system just like we have today, and they saw the handwriting on the wall that this was not sustainable. So a little over 30 years ago, they switched to a market-based system. Now you can say all you want about a market-based system, but the state of Minnesota has a market-based system. I'm a beneficiary of that, and I can tell you a little bit about that. But I read recently that after 30 years with Chile's market-based system, the average retiree retires at 2.5 times what they would have gotten with their old Social Security-based system. So if you think of what you're getting on Social Security today, multiply that times 2.5, and you get an idea of what you could be doing. I'm a retired firefighter from the Twin Cities. I was in Social Security for 40 years, sometimes part-time, mostly full-time. I was in PERA, Public Employees Retirement Association, run by the state for a little over 22 years. My PERA pension is over 4 times what my Social Security pension is, because it's a market-based system. Back in '05, Minnesota PERA, all the different funds. You know, a teacher, somebody that plows snow, highway patrol, police, full-time fire, they're all under PERA in their own little niche. I was going to invite a teacher that I know from Brainerd that's retired to come, but he happens to be in Cancun right now. I think he's doing a little better than most of us. But anyway, in '05, the total amount that was in there was $15 billion.
In which fund?
The Minnesota PERA,
Okay.
everything, State Investment Board,
Yeah.
all of these, for
Yeah.
retirees. Then the market crashed in '07 to '09. Today, there's $26.3 billion. I just got a flyer from the PERA board just the other day. That's an 86% increase over a 10-year period, with a crash. One of the reasons why I get 4 times more from being in PRA for 22 years versus being in Social Security for 4. And if you think Social Security is gonna save you, you're hanging your hat on the wrong hook.
Well, that's, you know, I don't know what they've done in Chile, but, under
Well,
PE.
2.5 times is a pretty good number.
No, I'll take a look at it, I will, thank you. I know, I will take a look at it, but I can say this, PERA is not managed by a brokerage house.
No.
It's managed by the government.
And
Yeah.
if we switched over,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have to be either, would we?
Yeah, no, but I know people that invested in Enron and WorldCom and a lot of other corporations ended up with nothing. So,
You don't put all your eggs in one basket, sir.
yeah, no, and that's not a smart, you're right, that's not a smart thing to do. But I do know that Social Security has never failed to yield a profit. It has never, ever failed to meet an obligation. And I cannot say that about the private sector investment funds, and nor can anyone else say that. So, you know, when you're dealing with your retirement, you know, depending on when you retire, it can look great. The Central States Pension Fund lost $17 billion in 2008. Well, they've regained $10 billion of that since that time. So, you know, depending on where, when, and how you're looking at it, and your benefits are determined, you can come out with some dramatically different results. But if your point is that you shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket, I think that's well intended. Buddy, didn't you say some stuff about retirement plans in other countries in the world?
Yeah, I don't have detailed information, but in terms of the level of benefits that are being paid from whatever source those are, you know, so all these other countries that are finding the ability to pay much more generous benefits than what we have here. Exactly how all of those are operated, I don't know. I'm expecting that most all of them are government systems, not unlike Social Security. But whether there's any market investments, I don't know. But we can try to find out that information.
Maybe a couple more, we gotta get Congressman Nolan out here.
Just a quick note on it. One thing that a lot of people in the room probably don't realize is that only 60% of the Social Security goes for old age benefits. 40% is going to the others. So you have the old age and disability accounts for 60%, 40% goes to the survivors.
Disability survivors.
Right, right. So I think part of the privatization part that people have to recognize is that all of it couldn't go into that privatization side. There's only a portion of it
Yeah.
that, if it were even considered, would be eligible for the benefits for any of us in the room here.
Well, there was a plan here a while back that as I recall, Al Gore, quite frankly, was the chief advocate of it, and he talked about supplementing, not changing Social Security, but supplementing that with a private market-driven system, and that's something that should be considered. Something that should be considered. Nick?
Social Security was never intended to be the sole.
No, you.
Okay. Now that we listen to Congressman Nolan, he's definitely on Crow Wing County side, the 8th District side, and the state of Minnesota and the country. What I'm gonna say here is now, how important it is to get him reelected. Because we all know what Mills will be, what side Mills will be on.
You're out of order. Yeah, I appreciate that, but let's keep the politics on.